Welcome in. Big weekend of college football in the SEC. We got some coaches and openings. We've got a big job opening up that we're going to get into. And then we got some massive games preview with some massive stakes. This is Sweet Tea in the SEC. And so grab your sweet tea and let's talk some SEC football. I'm your host, Chris. You can find me on Twitter at CFP Talk 07. You can also follow the show account at CFP_SZN. Joined, as always, on Tuesdays, our guy, Adam. And I didn't prep Adam with this, but I want to apologize to Adam because I have done a horrible job every week not promoting his great podcast. We got to share the love. Adam does a wonderful podcast. What night is it, Adam?
I release it on Fridays. It's pre-recorded and edited out so I can get the brain farts out of there, and the dead space that happens when I completely blind somebody with a question. So I just release it on Fridays.
Yep, Fridays. It's called the Weekly Walk On, and guys, it's a wonderful podcast. What I love about it is it's different and unique in a sense. Like, it's not what we do on our show. We talk, the football. Adam, what he does is he kind of goes behind the scenes of the inner workings of the people behind the scenes in college football. Because Adam works behind the scenes in college football, and he's done that a lot in his life, and he knows a lot of people. So you get a really cool, unique perspective of the inner workings, things that me, the regular fan, and you that could not see. And I've done a horrible job promoting that, and we need to. So go check it out. Weekly Walk On releases every Friday. It's wonderful. I just listened to the Mathis one. Great show. And yeah, and you can find Adam on at CFP Guy on Twitter. So what's up, Adam? How you doing, brother?
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's going, man. Crazy SEC weekend.
I could tell by some messages that you were pretty fired up about some things that happened this weekend.
Oh my gosh, yes, I am. Twitter was not Florida Twitter was not kind to me. Florida TikTok was not kind to you, by the way.
I mean, everybody's got their bias, and we all know every fan base is as reasonable as they come when it comes to college football. So,
yes.
I mean, I stand by my statement, and it's there is now currently a better job open in the SEC.
That's a great transition. Let's get into that. Sunday, Ryan Kelly fired at LSU. I spent a pretty good amount of time talking about it Sunday. Well, we did when we did our show Sunday. It had not happened yet, but it was trending in that direction, and I think we all kind of knew it was headed that way. It got announced shortly after we got off the show, of course, because that's just how it always works. So I've kind of gave a lot of feelings on it Sunday. I guess, Adam, you live in Louisiana, right?
Yep.
You live in Louisiana. You've lived there, I would imagine, for a long time. So that state. I would imagine a lot of LSU fans, and I kind of just want to get your reaction to that. Were you surprised? I guess take us were you surprised, and then also your reaction, and also do you think it was the right move?
Not surprised at all. I think the last few weeks, especially as how many openings there are, which I saw stats on College Football Live when I was watching. There's 8 Power 4 jobs open, and the last 2 years combined had 2 jobs open at the end of October. So it has just so many jobs, and it doesn't even account for the non-Power 4 jobs. So they're flying open, and I think LSU had to finally make a move, and they were pressured by it. And again, I always hate to see what happens to the players and the families of everybody involved, all the coaches' kids and everything like that. But they know what they're getting into, and it wasn't if, it was when. And I think the LSU fan base, the people I've talked to, were I don't think real excited that he was coming back to start this year. But I don't know if there was a whole lot because he has a decent record. He just hasn't won against the ranked teams or the big games. He has he's the winningest coach right now in FBS football. He's got 200 wins as a head football coach, and I don't know if he was ever the right fit. I don't know if Notre Dame fans really liked him either, but
I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't know that many people like Brian Kelly, period.
that's a very fair statement, I think. But I think he's one of those guys, if he stays somewhere long enough, he's going to rub enough people the wrong way that they're kind of ready for him to go. Kind of like Harbaugh leading up to. I don't think Michigan fans wanted him to leave, but I think everywhere he was before that, he was on about a 4 to 5 year limit, and then it was ready for him to go.
Well, I know towards the end of the Harbaugh era, his fans definitely didn't want him to leave, but I don't think there was, just based on reporting, that there were many people in Michigan administration that was crying over him leaving.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah. I think also with Brian Kelly, before we go, let you finish, to piggyback off of the, discussion about him being unlikable, this dates back to Cincinnati. I don't think he's left a job yet where there hasn't been stories that have come out after he leaves of just, I guess, Brian Kelly being Brian Kelly. Usually when those things come out, I try to take it for what it is. I wouldn't call them false or anything like that, or fake news or anything like that, but I just kind of read them and go, okay. But with Brian Kelly, like it's been since the Cincinnati days. I think it's safe to say he's just he's not a very likable dude. Maybe even a douchebag.
I think it goes back to his Central Michigan days.
Yeah, that's
true. I can't speak too much on his Grand Valley State days. Now, I will say my athletic director when I was at Armstrong State, she was at Grand Valley State when he was coaching there, and football reported to her when she was deputy AD there, and he won a handful or a few national championships there. I think 3. They had a good relationship. They got along great. When I was at Central Michigan his last year there in 2006, and they won the MAC right before he left for Cincinnati, and I was a grad assistant in the events and facilities, so I didn't interact with the head football coach at all, but it kind of felt like people walked on eggshells a little bit, which I feel like that's not uncommon with around head coaches. They want to please them, but you've seen the reactions on there's been a ton of them from his time at Cincinnati and Notre Dame coming back where he just blows up on people. And I don't know if that was true at CMU or not, but there was a lot of people that seemed very nervous about upsetting him. So, and to go back to, I think from a winning standpoint, they hired a decent coach.
Yeah.
I don't think it was a good fit for his personality. And I think LSU fans, more than any fan base, want to feel some sort of personal connection. I think all fan bases do, but I think LSU fans want to feel a personal connection. And that's why even O won a national championship here, but even when he kind of was letting things fall off the rails his last year, he's still beloved here. And it's because he is a South Louisiana Cajun guy. And, every once in a while see him speaking that Cajun Creole, Cajun French, and he still lives around here and he's just a regular guy. So I think they were hoping to be able to connect again with him like that. And obviously there's no way that was going to happen with his personality of, he's more of a business only type guy. And I think he proved that.
Yeah. The fit definitely just from day one, from the family stuff, and it just didn't seem, it seemed like an awkward fit. I knew, I wouldn't say I was surprised. I kind of figured coming into the season this was a pivotal year for Kelly. And honestly, after I seen the governor, the governor of LSU tweeted out that tweet that he tweeted, and I don't want to. Let's see. I don't want to say it wrong. I had it written down. Oh, here it is. So Jeff Landry, the governor of Louisiana, tweeted out, I think LSU sports and the LSU Board of Supervisors needs to rethink their actions to raise ticket prices for the next year after tonight's showing. I kind of knew after that tweet, I was like, oh, yeah, it's over. I don't know if it's over tonight, but it's over. Like, it's over. When the governor starts, doing those tweets and stuff like that, it tends to not end well. And then also there was a report, Adam, I'm sure you may have seen this, but you may have not. You're a pretty busy guy. There was a meeting. So originally the reporting was, hey, Kelly's going to be told to fire some coaches, and he's going to fire his OC, he's going to fire a couple other assistants, and then they're going to move on, and he's going to finish the year. And from what I understood, he was going to come back next year, start all over with the new assistants. And apparently, according to Ross Dellinger, Bruce Feldman, two national reporters that are extremely respected, he came in, had a meeting with Scott Woodward, the AD. The AD told him, fire Joe Sloan. LSU, Brian Kelly agreed, but then made a comment that he said, well, then I'm going to also fire Brad Davis, which is the O-line coach. From what I've understood, reading and listening, Brad Davis was a Scott guy that he kind of brought onto the staff, and it kind of started a clash between Brian Kelly and Scott, fighting in the office, not fist fighting, but very loud, heated argument. And I think it was kind of evident by the statement that the AD put out. There was no love lost between them two. And so, yeah, it just kind of turned sour right that. And as soon as that meeting ended, according to reports, the staff was told to go home. And I knew then, I was like, okay, when the report came out that the staff was told to go home, I was like, yeah, he's done with. Adam, before we get to me and my take on the job, I wanted to ask you, Interact, because me and Austin, our buddy that does our Thursday show with us, we got into a little debate on the phone. And I know this is an SEC show, but we're going to talk LSU. Where would you, Adam, rank the LSU job in college football?
It's a top 5 job.
Easy.
I think when you get to the top 5, you're really splitting hairs. I don't know if I can sit here and figure out which one's which, as I think that'd take me a little bit more time. And I think you put LSU, Texas, Alabama, Ohio State. I think those are your top 4. I don't know who I would even put in the top 5. I think those jobs are far and above every other job in the country. And I think that you can argue LSU is the top 1 out of all those.
I will make that argument, Adam. I will make that argument. That's a debate me and Austin had. He was surprised when I said my top job. It would be a debate for me personally, it would be a debate between LSU and Ohio State. And we're not a Big Ten show, but the reason Ohio State is because it just seems like they're indestructible. Like, it doesn't matter who coaches them. They're going to always win 10 games no matter what. I think other than Luke Fickell's interim year, they've had pretty much every season's 10-win season. So it's just dummy.
Yeah, I think since 2002, it has been, and that was Tressel's second year. And I'd probably put Notre Dame in there as a 5th one.
Yeah. And so, like, I Ohio State, I wouldn't mind putting them number 1, but LSU to me is 1 or 2. And what I think makes LSU a unique job is a couple of things, or a great job, a couple of things. One point I would make is that you have Nick Saban, Ed Orgeron, and Les Miles won national championships there. And I'm not trying to crap on Edo. I love Edo. I hope he gets back into coaching. Les Miles, I'm not trying to crap on him, but 2 of those are not like the other.
No.
And to me, that shows, like, I'm not going to say it's easy because it's never easy to win a national championship. But if I'm not trying to be ugly, but if those two ding dongs can win national championships at LA, I mean, that just shows the level of job LSU is and how easy it is. Another, or not easy, but how is if you get the players that you can win there. The other point I always made was you probably can speak to this because you live in Louisiana, but does Louisiana have the talent that the state of Georgia, Florida, Texas, and California has as far as high school players? No. They do have talent, though. It is a very talented, rich state. And a lot of their players in the top Louisiana rankings is top 100 players. So they can hold their own. But that's not my point. My point is them kids in Louisiana, and Adam, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I've talked to Season about this, but them kids in Louisiana, the day they're born effing Tigers. Like, you don't get a choice a lot of the times. You're going to LSU.
It's not, it's not like Alabama or Florida or California, these other states where there's other top tier athletic departments. There's, if you're talking, it's similar to Ohio. It's similar to some of the other schools. There's one school that every kid grows up wanting to play for, and it's LSU.
Yep.
And not all of them do, because they realize it comes down to the best fit. Somebody else might have a better situation in the position room for them. Now there might be more money somewhere else. Some people, they need to get away from home for either family or friends that they have. They need to get away from that a little bit and see something new. So, not all of them do go to LSU, but
the majority of them do.
A lot of them do, and a lot of them, I mean, that's what they grow up wanting to do. I live in New Orleans. I work at Tulane. Tulane won the Cotton Bowl, 2020, the 22 Cotton Bowl. I guess it was 22 seasons, so 23 Cotton Bowl. And LSU was still getting more coverage than Tulane, having a historic season that they had for their football program. Mm-hmm. And LSU, I think, won the Citrus Bowl, something like that, and was getting more coverage for it. And that just goes to show, Baton Rouge is only an hour 10 minutes away, but it goes to show what the state is thinking about. It's all LSU, all purple and gold on Saturdays.
And another thing is in Georgia and states like Florida, you have especially particularly Atlanta. A lot of those kids, they move to Georgia. You're not. There's a lot of I can't even think of the word. But there's a lot of kids that moved into those states. And LSU, there a lot of them are homegrown. And if all you got to do is actually, if go to 247.com or go to on3.com and just look at the state rankings, right? Go pull up Georgia's, go pull up Florida's, go pull up Louisiana. I did this the other day, and just look at the top 10. When I looked at Louisiana, 6 of the top 10 are committed to LSU. When I went and looked at Georgia and Florida, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it wasn't very many in the top 10 going to Georgia or Florida, because those two states is competing a lot with a lot of teams. Matter of fact, the number 2 rated kid in the state of Florida is going to LSU. So that to me just speaks to the job at LSU. And I truly believe if Nick Saban didn't leave for the Dolphins, the dynasty, the standard that we would have been talking about would have been LSU.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I 100% agree with that. And my buddy that used to work at LSU, we had a conversation. I want to say it might have been last year after he retired. And I don't remember. Maybe it was I forget when we had the conversation, but I said, do they dislike him because he left, or do they dislike him because he got back into college coaching at Alabama and beats them pretty much every year that he's been at Alabama? And his response was something along the lines of, I think they're upset because they look at Alabama and see what could have been. He goes, I don't think they just like him personally, he made a life decision that he thought was best for him. It's a decision that is what he chose, but they say, look what could have been when they were watching what he was doing at Alabama instead of LSU.
Yeah, absolutely. Athletes Forum podcast, man, appreciate your support. You're on here every week. Appreciate you, dude. Chris, this week we can't be friends. Go Gators. Hey, that's all right. That's all right. We're gonna talk that game here in a little while. We're gonna talk that game.
He asked if Summerall's going to leave Tulane and go to.
I was just fixing to say that was a nice transition.
What's
Adam,
your thoughts on that?
Okay,
you go first. You go first.
Okay. Yeah, actually, that would be perfect for me to bring up something here in a minute while I talk about it. Man, I'm really getting annoyed with the coaching search narratives, and some of that's I've contributed to that a little bit too. One of the popular sentiments in the college football search right now is we're going to have so many openings, and we're just not going to have enough good coaches. And I even said that. And I got to thinking about it. And then I seen this tweet that I sent to you that I'll pull up on the screen in a little bit. And I was like, you know what? He's right. There's a lot of really good coaches out there. And I feel like what's actually going to happen on this search is there's going to be some really bad hires made, bad fits, because we're all shooting for the big game hunting. And listen, if I was LSU, I know this is not everybody's cup of tea. I've had debates on TikTok, YouTube, other places, Twitter, Facebook groups, everywhere that talks football. Lane Kiffin, some people call him overrated. Personally, I think Lane Kiffin's a great coach. I think that would be my first call. I would go all in on Lane Kiffin. But if you don't get Lane Kiffin, I think LSU fans and Florida fans, they may jump off bridges. Listen, guys, there's a lot of really good coaches other than Lane Kiffin. I don't think it's the end-all, be-all. Like, that's who I would go after first. That is who I have to go after first. But I wanted to bring this up because one of the things I'm starting to kind of fall into is, like, why not go out and hire the hot shot coordinator? So Cody, who works at On3, posted this on Twitter the other day. I know we are in a wild state of coaching carousel conversations, but I'm starting to see a lot of more discourse saying that there aren't enough quality candidates available for upper echelon jobs. That being said, here are the top 15 teams in the most recent AP poll and their coach's resume prior to taking their current job. No head coaching experience in CFB, 9 total coaches in the top 15. P5 head coaching experience, 4 total coaches. G5 head coaching experience, 2. Guys, I text this to Adam. Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, Marcus Freeman, Dan Lannon. Those are 4 guys that are easily probably top 6, top 7 coaches in college football right now that everybody loves and adores. And all 4 of them were coordinators. All 4 of them. Just won national championships.
I heard on college football, the third one, there's only 3 coaches that currently have national championships at the FBS level. It's Day, it's Kirby Smart, and then throw in Dabo in there, who was also a coordinator with no head coaching experience before he went and won championship. So I think it's kind of a silly sentiment because we already talked about Brian Kelly. He's still a good coach. He's going to go be successful somewhere. James Franklin is a good coach. He'll still go be successful somewhere. I always say this. I think Nick Saban set the standard so high, and it's only getting worse now that you have donors paying in to the NIL fund to get players there. Mm. It has just gotten worse of the all or nothing. If they're going to extremes and they're saying, if we don't win, we need to move on to the next coach. And
yeah,
some of these schools that are going through code, Philip Fulmer, Tennessee had a terrible time after him. Michigan had a terrible time after Lloyd Carr. Florida State went through some tough years after Bobby Bowden. And they were all national championship coaches. But, they got chased out of town. And I think it's silly to think that it has to be a winning coach at a Power 4 school to be the be-all, end-all for your team to hire them.
Yeah, I agree.
Dirk Signetti
Yep.
was not a Power Four coach, and
Nope.
people laughed when he said, "I win, Google me," because he did it at lower levels, and he's doing it at the Power Four now too.
I'm gonna ask you this after I give mine, and it may be the same as mine. If I'm the one that's in charge of making the hire, I've already said what I said about Lane, but my top two, if we're just doing top two, would be Lane and John Summerall. I think, and honestly, it. I know what I said about Lane earlier, but honestly, that's 1A, 1B to me. Like I could go with John and be just as happy as I would be with Lane, because I think John Summerall is going to be the next big thing in coaching. I think he's going to be up there with the Freemans and the Kirbys and all that. Like I'm really high on him, and I think he would fit Louisiana well. I mean, he's at Tulane, so he's been in Louisiana, and so he knows that culture and all that. I think he would be a great fit. I think he would also be a phenomenal coach. I think he hires staff really well. I think he's good as a leader. I think he's phenomenal, honestly. Some other guys I would look at, since we talked about the coordinator route, I'd go talk to Oregon's OC. I think Oregon's OC is a phenomenal offense coordinator. I would probably talk to UGA's DC. Not because I'm trying to get rid of him because he's having a bad year, but let's look at his total body of work. He's done pretty phenomenal at Georgia, other than this year. And another wild card as an OC that I would go look at is or as a coordinator is Indiana's offense coordinator, Mike Shannon. I think he's been with Kurt forever, since James Madison. He's been with him for a long time. I think he's a phenomenal offensive coordinator. I think what he's done at Indiana is pretty cool. Yeah, that's the kind of people I would go after. Or Clark Lee, I would try him, but I don't think he's leaving Vandy.
I don't know if Clark Lee will leave Vandy. Everybody has a price, but he's an alumni there, and it might be one of those situations where he wants to turn Vandy into a contender. So I don't know if he would leave. You know, I think there's a lot of unrealistic targets that have been thrown around. I don't understand the John Gruden. I don't see Lanning leaving. I don't see, but he does have SEC experience, so he's worth a shot. I don't see Ryan Day leaving. I don't see Marcus Freeman leaving. I don't see many of your coaches at top 10 programs. And Athlete Forum podcast just said Brent Key's another one that I've seen his name a lot. He's at where he played. I feel like some of these coaches that are at their alma maters want to stay there and build them into powers just because they haven't been, you know. I heard Summerall on the local radio station say as I was driving home, and that was the first thing I asked him, and he immediately went to the World Series, wanted to talk about the game last night, the 18-inning game. And, he finally answered. He goes, I'm here to coach football. I love coaching football, and my family's from here. I love living in New Orleans. He goes, he talked about guest speakers that he has every Wednesday in the summer for his team, NFL agents, a financial advisor, and a couple other folks. And then he surprised them, and he was the final one. And in that session, he talked about, he said, we got to leave everything out during the season. He goes, if we are successful and good, like we can be and we want to be, there's going to be conversations about all of you sitting in this room leaving, whether it's the offense coordinator, the quarterback, the defensive lineman. He goes, all of you might have opportunities. I might have an opportunity. If we are going to reach the peak and do what we want to do, we can't talk about those opportunities or entertain those opportunities until the season is over. He goes, we had players leave last year and go get what they thought was a better opportunity, a better financial situation that we couldn't compete with. But I'm not going to do anything until the season's over. Please, you guys don't either. And that's kind of what he said on the radio. And he didn't say he wanted to. He didn't say he didn't want to. He was very honest and sincere in his answer. But he was non-committal either way, too. And it was one of the best answers I'd ever heard from somebody when asked about another job.
Yeah, I saw that earlier. Somebody mentioned that. Yeah, I couldn't say enough great things about John Summerall. I'll be curious to
He's
see
such a
where he
great
goes.
dude. He is such
Yeah,
a great dude, and I don't want to speculate one way or the other, but I do think he would be a good fit at LSU. Um, he's from the state of Alabama, so I think if he leaves Tulane,
I was
I
just
think it
fixing to say that. Yeah.
I think it would be somewhere in the South, but still close to the state of Alabama because that's where his family is. I know he's a big family guy.
I would watch. I heard some national media talk today that if Auburn quickly moves from Hugh Freeze, watch that job because apparently his wife, I believe, went to Auburn. If I hope I didn't say that wrong, but I think they were saying on the show that his wife had ties to Auburn.
That's one. Him and I have never spoken about it, but that is one that I always kind of thought he would be interested in if it opened.
As a Georgia fan, I hope and pray, please, John, go to LSU, please, please, please. We don't have to deal with LSU much, so I don't want to. I don't want to deal with John at Auburn. I enjoy as a Georgia fan beating Auburn, but yeah, that's the one I've heard a lot. I'd be curious to see which one he goes to. But like you said, he loves family and he's a big family guy. But he's a phenomenal coach. So honestly, I think that's who LSU should go all in on. That's probably either him or Lane. If you want to do the Lane thing. Yeah. But we had one. We'll get to these two real quick. On TikTok, we had Penn State. This your mama 69 is the name. Um, and this is his predictions on the coaching search. It's interesting. Penn State, Brian Kelly. LSU, Marcus Freeman.
I don't see Marcus leaving. He supposedly was the first call from I forget who now. I thought maybe it was a Florida. Okay, and that conversation didn't go very far. I don't see him leaving.
I don't.
And unless it's for Ohio State, maybe if Ryan Day is ready to retire or is ever no longer there. My buddy, I had a college roommate here, and he's a Penn State fan, and he's interested in Brian Kelly at LSU. I don't know if other Penn State fans will be because they're kind of similar, but the Big Ten year in, year out isn't quite as deep, and it might be a little bit easier to make the playoff from there.
He just commented back on TikTok and said that wasn't his predictions. That was Chat GPT.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He's a regular on my TikTok lives, on our TikTok lives, because it's our show, and he's hilarious. Anyway, that was all right.
Athletes Forum podcast brings up, Gus Malzahn.
I don't think Gus wants to coach. Head coaching. He's made it very clear he doesn't want to be a head coach.
If he gets back in, I think it's going to be a job that has a little bit lower expectations than what LSU and Auburn and some of the others have. Florida, I don't think that's going to be the fit, but he had a decent run and he did have a good record against Bama.
Yeah. I think Malzahn's a phenomenal OC. I think he's phenomenal is probably a strong word. I think he's a really good OC. I think he did some things at Auburn. But I don't. If I was an LSU fan, that wouldn't get me excited. But and also, I just don't think Gus wants to coach. I don't think he wants to be a head coach. I mean, let me rephrase. I don't think he wants to be a head coach. All right. Well, that was a lot of coaching discussions. We usually recap games, but this weekend we're going to kind of skip that because it's getting to that part of the year where we have a lot of coaching discussions and all kind of stuff. So we'll probably get back to that next week, but we're going to go ahead and do our Sweet Tea MVP and then preview some games because that's what we do on this show. We preview games and we talk about the games and but this coaching search, it's got to be talked about. I think we'd be doing a disservice if we didn't. All right, let's get our Sweet Tea MVP. Every week we award a MVP from the SEC. It can be anything from players to coaches to a position group, even maybe a fan if you want to be fans. It could be anything interesting, unique. My MVP this weekend is Ole Miss's offensive line. I'm gonna go with the Big Uglies. They don't get enough credit in our world, and I think they deserve it this weekend. I thought the way they did against Oklahoma's D line, they allowed like 12% pressure rate, 0 sacks according to PFF. I thought the way they handled Oklahoma's D line was phenomenal and probably was the key to the game for them. I know Chambliss did well, but I think that was a big part of why they won. And so, yeah, that's my Sweet Tea MVP, Ole Miss offensive line. What you got, Adam?
That's a good choice. I went with Joey Aguilar out of Tennessee, 20 for 26, 396 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions against Kentucky. And I know Kentucky's struggling this year, but their defense has played pretty decent at times and actually held that same Ole Miss offense to a lot less yards and made them turn the ball over a lot. They held Texas to a lot fewer yards, and they put up a lot this week. So that might be one of the few bright spots for Kentucky, and they just blew up on them.
Yeah, I actually didn't get much eyes on that game, but I went and looked at Joey's stats, and he was under consideration for me too. So yeah, he did great. All right, that was our Sweet Tea MVPs. You didn't have another one after that, did you?
No.
Okay. All right, let's preview the games. We've got a big one. Big to Georgia and Florida fans. UGA 7.5 favorites over Florida. Before we both dig into this and I dig into it too, I love this rivalry. I hope. I'm always conflicted at them because there's two sides of me, right? I'm a Georgia fan, diehard Georgia fan, but I'm also a diehard college football fan, and I battle with those two sides sometimes because I've gotten a lot of flack from Georgia fans. I've always said that I kind of wish Florida would get their act together because I want Georgia, Florida to be relevant nationally, like Ohio State, Michigan, Auburn, Alabama. And for that to happen, I think the two teams need to start colliding as good teams, not it being one-sided like it was for Georgia here lately and like it's been for Florida in the 90s. So it would be nice if it would be nationally relevant, two highly ranked teams battling in and out. I would love the Georgia-Florida game to get that national attention. It doesn't. Right now, it's just really Georgia and Florida fans. Now, as the Georgia fan in me, I love nothing more than the Gators to suffer and have misery and to never be successful ever again. So that's the battle I kind of have, but the college football side of me kind of wins. I wish this game would kind of just have that Ohio State, Michigan feel to it and have that Auburn, Alabama feel to it. Or hell, even I think the Holy War nationally gets more that national love than Georgia, Florida. So yeah, I wanted to say that off the top, but Adam, I'm a little scared about this game because the interim energy, UAB and UCLA, and there's been kind of this interim curse going on where like an interim comes in and they UCLA and UAB did it just a couple of weeks back. And I'm really curious of how this Florida's offense looks without Napier. And I'm going to make a statement that's, I don't know if it's crazy or not, but I'm a little more nervous that Billy's not calling the offense than if he was. Like, if he was calling the offense, I'd feel a lot more confident than I do. But that scares me a little bit, especially with a suspect UGA defense. It kind of scares me that we're kind of going this game a little unknown. I don't think nothing's going to change defensively for the Gators, but I do think they're going to add a little few wrinkles. They're not going to overhaul the offense. You can't do that midseason. You just can't. Not in a bye week either. Even if you have a bye week, you can't. But I do think there's going to be some changes, and that kind of scares me a little bit. You worried any bit on that aspect?
I don't worry about Georgia winning or losing ever. That's a you thing. No, I'm not really. I'm not. I think Georgia wins. It's probably going to be close in the first half, just because Georgia has slow starts. Florida's got a good defense. There's going to be some new wrinkles in there from Florida on offense, and Georgia will make the adjustments at halftime. I think I would, I don't want to say to cover because I don't want people thinking I'm giving gambling advice because I'm not, because I'm so bad at it. But I do think I see it being a 2-score game. I really do. I think the first half is going to be a fun watch, and then Georgia kind of pulls away. The better coaching, the better team talent just ends up letting that happen in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I'm picking. I'll go ahead and say it, and I think it's obvious who you're picking. I'm picking Georgia. And yeah, it's probably a me thing. I get nervous when if Georgia was to play my local high school team 10 minutes down the road from me. Even though, I mean, Georgia would absolutely demolish them. So yeah, it may be a me thing, but I do have a little bit of nervousness because the interim thing. And that makes me a little nervous. And also just Georgia's not, they played a bunch of close games. They don't seem to come in and dominate like they do. And this is one team though that I will feel good. I will feel okay if Florida gets that lead like others have, because I think Georgia can come back against Florida pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean they've done it against other teams. I don't see Florida getting out to a 2-score lead like Georgia has allowed to happen many other times. There's going to be new wrinkles. I just don't trust Florida's offense. They haven't proven a whole lot this year outside of a few situations.
Yeah. Oh man. I do think it's going to be close for a while. I think third quarter we're going to go in this maybe nail biter, but I do think Georgia will pull away and win by 10. Late third, early fourth quarter, middle of the fourth kind of thing. But yeah, I think Georgia wins. Man, you're going Georgia too, right?
I am.
All right. Texas 3.5 versus my Vandy Doors. Not gonna lie, I'm a little nervous about my Doors, Adam. I think this feels like a perfect letdown game for Vandy.
You can't say that. You've been on the Vandy bandwagon for I don't know how long now, 5 weeks. You can't just all of a sudden drop off the bandwagon when they're rolling along, man. And Texas still they had a nice comeback last week, but they still, I mean, they gave up a lot of points.
They did.
And their offense, it took 2.5, 3 quarters of their offense to figure anything out.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I had a feeling you were going to do that as soon as I said that. When I was sitting here writing my notes earlier in the day, I was like, Adam's going to get me for that. I don't know. It's just it being, if I remember correctly, it's a 11 a.m. Central kickoff time. That makes me nervous. It being in Austin makes me nervous. I do think, Texas defense did give up a lot last week. I still think their defense is really good. I think the matchup that I'm really curious about is Texas's run D versus Vandy's rushing offense. Because last week in the Vandy Missouri game, I gave a lot of credit to Vandy because they still found a way to win the game when they didn't run the ball all that great. And I thought for Vandy to win, they would have to continue to run the ball really well, because that's kind of how their offense is built, is the run game, getting that, 5 or 6 yards, getting the third and shorts. And they still found a way against Missouri when that wasn't that successful. And I just don't know if you can do that against Texas's D line and be successful. The flip side, I also think Texas's run game's got to figure something out. They are 123rd in yards per carry. Texas running backs and 106th in explosive runs. For them to be successful in the game, they got to find a way to run the ball. They've got to find a way to run the ball. And then the Arch Manning thing too, Adam.
Where does Vandy's running backs rank on there? Because Pavia leads the team in rushing. So
That's true.
I don't feel like Vandy's really beating the door down with running back rushing yards.
That's true. That's true. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but though you're right because it's a lot of Diego. It's a lot of Diego. It's a lot. It's a lot of him, especially in the run game. But yeah, man, I don't know which way. What's your thoughts on the game?
I keep coming back to Pavia. You know, I've said this week after week that the guy has just got a different attitude about him. He's got that it factor that keeps helping them win games, and they gutted one out last week. I don't know if is Manning playing. They said he's concussed. I don't know if it's too early for the injury report. Part of me wonders if he doesn't play, if they get a spark from the backup quarterback.
Yeah, I don't know if he's fine. Last I had read, he was he's obviously in concussion protocol, so that'll be another fascinating thing. Yeah, you're right though. If he plays well,
I also feel like this could be a letdown game for Vandy because they've had a tough stretch here. Vandy has just been able to will out a couple victories that I wasn't sure if they would, and Texas has just been very disappointing. So I'm going to stay with Vandy on this one. That they find a way to win another one. I could see this being a really ugly game.
Yeah, I would agree with the ugly part. I'm gonna go Vandy too. I'm not going to abandon my doors. I thought about it. For a split second. But nah, I'm gonna go Vandy. I do think it'll be ugly and close and low scoring game. All right. Oklahoma versus Tennessee. This is probably the biggest SEC game of the weekend, in my opinion, because of the massive stakes in this game. This is, to me, some people could argue that Oklahoma, even with 3 losses, I don't personally think so. But this, to me, is a playoff eliminator. Both team has 2 losses. So this is going to be a fun game. Can Oklahoma's offense have a good day against this Vols defense? Vols have allowed 31 points each to Arkansas, Kentucky, Bama. Also had a shootout against UGA. This is kind of like a bad defense, bad offense. Something's got to give between the two. Which one's gonna give here? Because Oklahoma's offense is straight trash. It's not good. And Mateer, since his hand surgery, has not been good at all if you look at the numbers. The one concern I do have for Oklahoma's defense that we've praised a lot is their pass rush right now. In the last 2 big games, Ole Miss, Texas, they've only got 1 sack versus those quarterbacks. And I think what we really learned in those 2 games, and particularly the Ole Miss game, is Oklahoma's secondary's a weakness. And if they can't get quarterback against that Tennessee offense, it could be bad, Adam.
They've struggled. I also is Aguilar as mobile as Manning and Chambliss, because those guys both use their legs very well. I think I haven't watched Tennessee a ton, but I feel like he is more of a true pocket passer, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think he runs the ball nearly as much or as well as those 2 other guys.
With the Georgia game, I don't remember him running much. I don't remember him being very mobile.
He's got 91 rushing yards on the season. He's had a couple games. Arkansas, he rushed for 59. Syracuse, he rushed for 34, but he's also got some goose eggs in there from sacks, since rushing yards count as sacks count as rushing yards in college.
Tough guy.
If they can keep him in the pocket and pressure him, I think they have a chance. But I was going to say the same thing. You got Tennessee has a good offense, Oklahoma's good defense, and Tennessee's defense is just okay. Oklahoma's offense is very hot and cold, hit or miss. So I think it kind of shows up or depends on what we get from Mateer and if anybody else can help him on the team.
Yeah.
They're going to need a rushing game from somebody other than Mateer. He can't run the ball 20 times and take that many hits and be their only option on offense. So I think Tennessee wins this one just because I think they're going to outscore them, and I think Oklahoma's offense is going to hit a wall.
I wrote in my notes that I think if Tennessee can get more than 24 points, they win. And yeah,
I think that's a good number.
I think if they can get more than 24 points, because I don't think Oklahoma can. I know Tennessee's defense is bad, but I mean, look, I love Ole Miss. I think they've done a phenomenal job. But listen, Ole Miss defense is not as good as it portrayed Saturday, and I think that just speaks to. I think that spoke more to how bad Oklahoma's offense is than Ole Miss's defense figuring things out. And I think that just shows how bad Oklahoma's offense is. And I think as bad as Tennessee's defense is, this game may give Tennessee some fans some false hope that their defense has been fixed, because that's how bad Oklahoma's offense is. And I don't see it getting fixed this week. Yeah, I'm going to Tennessee. I think they win. I think Oklahoma's out of the playoffs. I think as college football fans, sorry, Sooner fans, if you're watching, but I'm going to be thankful for Tennessee because I don't think anybody should be subjected to watch that offense in the playoffs, similar to Texas. So hopefully Vandy and Tennessee puts us out of our misery and we don't have to watch those two teams in the playoffs, because y'all just need to start all over and come back next year. Y'all don't know. We don't need to watch those offensive teams in the playoffs. We should not be subjected to that, Adam.
And you said I was the spicy one after last week, man.
I had to match you. I got off. We got off that night, and I was like, "Damn, Adam was."
I didn't even think I was that spicy last week.
Phew, TikTok thought you was. I'll tell you that. Florida fans did not like it.
Again, we're talking about reasonable college football fans. Every college football fan I've ever met is completely reasonable, including myself.
Well, let me tell you, we're fixing to end it now, but I tell you what, every week I do, usually on Tuesdays, I do a TikTok live of my top 25. And I said this in the group chat. If you feel really good about yourself, maybe you've got a lot of confidence, maybe you're getting a little too cocky, too arrogant. You know, you walking around with a big ego. Go put a top 25 list on TikTok. You'll get humbled real quick. You'll be called a lot of names. I've been called stupid. I've been called an idiot. My list is trash. I think I've been told that a kid could do a list better. Yeah, you'll be called a lot of names. Also, I think it would be good if you're an angry person and you need to work on your anger management. Because sometimes I ain't gonna lie, I tell some of these people like, hey, you know, I say some things sometimes because they get a little crazy in there. Adam, tell us about the shirt deal.
All right, so I'm wearing a different upper higher education shirt every single week for the show. Just trying to get some other schools some exposure. It's fun. There might be some people that want to get their school on here or see their school that might not have college football at all, or might not have college football that gets a lot of publicity because they're Division III, NAIA, whatever. So Jennifer Rushton, she's the athletic director at Albion College in Albion, Michigan. It's a Division III school. I crossed paths with her at a couple of different universities that I used to work at. So that is who this week's shirt is, the Albion College Britons. And their football team right now is 2-5. They're 0-4 in the MIAA. But hopefully they can get things going after a slow start. But anybody wants to know where Albion College is, it's about an hour south of Lansing, Michigan. And they are this week's shirt. So if anybody wants to see their school on here, they can send me that. They can reach me on CFB Guy on Twitter, and we can arrange how we get the shirt. I'm not worried about size. I'll make it fit. And if you're getting ready to throw shirts out or you have shirts that you're going to go to Goodwill, I will take them to Goodwill for you. Anybody that sees me repeat a university and calls me out within 48 hours of the show being live on Tuesday nights, I will send them one of my the Weekly Walk On podcast shirt for catching me when I slipped up. So fun little thing here. And I don't care if this higher education, I keep saying upper, I don't care if this higher education is a trade school, if they even have athletics, they don't have to. I'm just wearing higher education shirts. So reach out to me if you want to send one, and we'll figure that out.
Awesome. Love it. All right. Before I let Adam close us out, y'all please go hit the follow and subscribe button on @CFB_SZN on YouTube. We really need to, we've hit kind of a wall on YouTube as far as subs. Numbers were great for 2 months. We were getting subs out the yin yang, and October's been a little rougher on getting subs, but anybody watching it, please go subscribe to the YouTube channel @CFB_SZN. Also, as I said at the top of the show, for people that missed it, go check out Adam's podcast, The Weekly Walk On. Phenomenal show. It comes out every Friday. He does a great job. It's a very unique podcast in a sense that it talks about the inner workings in college athletics. He has a lot of really cool guests. I haven't listened to the latest one, but I did listen to Mathis and Season go on there, 2 guys that I believe is grad assistants in college football. So those are really cool episodes, and I'm going to listen to the new one at some point this week. So yeah, go check them out. And Adam, I'll let you close us out.
Check out the I had a friend that works at Notre Dame, and so I had the facilities guy and the event operations guy for football talking about hosting the first playoff game ever. That was a really cool episode. So yes, that's a good one if you really want to hear the inner workings of what happens behind college football games and what makes those games work. So, and you can also follow Sweet Tea in the SEC. We're on Instagram as well. Sweet Tea, all one word, but 2 T's _SEC. And then, like he said, I'm at CFB Guy on Twitter and CFB Guy1 on Instagram if you want to follow me. Either my personal pages, mostly Instagram stuff. If I post it on one, I'm going to post it on the other one if it's SEC related. So appreciate everybody that was able to join. Please rate, like, and subscribe on Instagram as well, and keep sipping that sweet tea and watching the SEC.
Peace, everybody.